We continue our extended coverage of a momentous day in the Middle East, being described as a significant moment of history, freighted with emotion. Today, Israel has confirmed that the last 20 living hostages held captive by Hamas since the horrific events of October the 7th, 2023, have now been freed from captivity. They are now home, along with the remains of 4 who did not survive the ordeal. In exchange, nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and detainees have been released by Israel. They too are being united with their families. A day full of history, but also full of emotion. This is most of all a very human moment. Whatever the politics of this conflict, and there are deep-rooted differences that may still stymie the efforts to move from this first phase to the second phase and deal with much more difficult issues. But today was a day of emotional reunions. Let's just look at some of the scenes that we witnessed today. One of the Israeli families reunited today was that of 48-year-old Omri Miran, the oldest of the hostages to be released. He was abducted from his home in Kibbutz Nahal Oz. His wife, Lishai, said she had last seen him being driven away in his own car, dragged into the Gaza Strip. And there on the screen, you can see that was the moment that she spoke to him today, just after he was released from Hamas. The joy and the screaming, the emotions, tears spilling. And these pictures show the moment that he was then met by the Israeli Defense Forces after he re-entered Israel, safe inside Israel, after the International Committee of the Red Cross, their white vans with the distinctive symbols, bringing them, handing them over to Israeli Defense Forces, the 2 soldiers. And this is when his wife saw this footage. This is how she reacted. The kind of scenes of that all of the families have exhibited, and the 2 now are together again. Those images were taken just moments after this is it, the moment they had so feared would never happen. Week after week, month after month, the families of the hostages played such a pivotal role in keeping their stories alive, taking to the streets, filling the streets of Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem as well, taking their protests right up to the gates of Prime Minister Netanyahu's residence here in Jerusalem. Anger mixed with grief and agony, and now the agony is over. Let's look at another. This was the phone call between Israeli hostage Elkanah Bobut and his mother. Okay. Calm down, he tells his mother as he stands alongside a Hamas soldier. Hamas actually called some of the families of the hostages even before they reached the International Committee of the Red Cross. His wife and 4-year-old son were waiting with his parents at the army base in Reem. Friends and family who'd gathered to look at this celebration. Unbridled joy, intense emotion, enormous relief. Family reunions like this, and in Israel, that so many people said that they felt that every hostage, and they knew them by name, they knew their stories, all 250 now coming back in this 3rd hostage releases, that they believed they were like their own family members, an extraordinary coming together, shown in the opinion polls, month after month, the percentage of Israelis saying it's time to end this war, time to prioritize bringing the hostages home, and emphasizing, unlike Prime Minister Netanyahu kept saying, we're military pressure. That played a role, but it was negotiations like those in Sharm el-Sheikh and Egyptian Red Sea Resort which made all the difference. It's not just a day of emotion here in Israel, also in the occupied West Bank, where there were also scenes of jubilation as hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and detainees were freed. Some of them went home to to their homes in the occupied West Bank. Many more returned to Gaza, but many, like in the other prisoners for hostages exchange, they were deported. Israel said they could not return home. It has been a momentous day, an emotional day, but also a day laced with politics, as we saw in that hours-long session of the Israeli parliament, a love-in between Israeli leaders and President Trump. Watching it, of the many people watching it, was Tal Schneider, political correspondent of the Times of Israel. Tal Schneider, was an amazing moment, and how many times President Trump looked directly at Prime Minister Netanyahu, the Prime Minister that he had to push to bring this war, to end this war, bring the deal over the line, commending him today and emphasizing again and again the war was over. What do you think was going through the Prime Minister's mind? A big smile on his face, of course.
Yes, he was very happy. I think it's a big day of relief because it was all happening in parallel, bringing those 20 people alive back. And you saw the president alluding in some of his part of this. The speech was very, very long, and he was alluding to, I told Bibi that you must stop and you don't have to go fight anymore. Meaning, of course, some arguments that I suppose that were behind the scene. Also, there was a part when he said that he liked Netanyahu, but he's been very tough. It's difficult to deal with him. And he said, it's difficult to deal with him, but that's good for Israel, meaning he's your prime minister and he's doing the job, but it's difficult for us to engage with him. And I think everybody laughed, including Netanyahu himself, because the speech was joyful, and there are really important parts of the speech. If you put aside the entire, joking around and laughs and on, and there is an important part when he speaks about the region and the need to bring the need to bring into the region peace and security and proceed. I mean, it seems from the speech that President Trump is not intending to let go of the plans he has ahead for the future of the region. And that's very crucial because the Israelis, from their own prime minister, did not hear the word peace too much in recent years or even a decade. It was always about, the issue with the Palestinian is unsolvable. We can never reach any arrangement with them. No Palestinian stand, nothing. And Trump came over and they like him. The people on the right wing and the people on the left wing, they really like him. And then he says, you have to get into prosperity, into security. You cannot solve things with arms. You need to, he said it also to the Gazan people. He told them they need to let go of this ideology where you want to just, eliminate Israel. It's not going to happen. So he said it to both sides, and I thought, it was, continuing from here to Sharem, it's the same line.
And Tal, as we're speaking, we're watching pictures. President Donald Trump has now at long last, hours late, but he's now the last handshake. Sarah Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, who must be so pleased during that speech. He even looked at President Herzog and asked him to pardon Prime Minister Netanyahu, as you know, is struggling to clear his name. 3 corruption scandals. There's Ivanka Trump, his daughter, standing alongside Jared Kushner. President Trump spent a lot of his speech thanking his team, his daughter, his son-in-law, Steve Witkoff. He went on and on about that. And now these last words with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I wonder what his last words to him. So many words were said today, so many veiled warnings, all in a kind of light-hearted way, saying goodbye to others who are on the tarmac. Let's just see the last of the handshakes as President Trump goes to Sharm el-Sheikh. He made some jokes during his speech that maybe the leaders, more than 20 Western and Arab leaders who are waiting for him in Sharm el-Sheikh, that maybe they wouldn't be waiting anymore. But of course, the world in which we live in now, everyone knows that a lot of it revolves around President Trump, pleasing President Trump and getting him to do good things for the region. And this is an important moment in the region.